Welcome to Know Your Candidate podcast. This is an opportunity for candidates from across Tauranga City wards to tell their stories, their experiences, their reasonings in their own words. A format which gives them more than the public debates and profiles that you've seen already. An opportunity for the voter, the ratepayer, future resident to get to know who you want leading the city and, importantly, are they capable of doing so? Anne Pankhurst, a previous business owner, councillor and political junkie, will find out more why the candidates want to run, where they have come from, what they're going to do. So let's not wait anymore. Let's go.
Hello, Tina Salisbury, mayoral candidate for Tauranga City Council. Welcome to Know Your Candidate podcast series.
Thank you. It's nice to see you, Anne.
Same to you. So today our format is to take the opportunity for a longer, more conversational approach for you, the candidate, so that you can speak and share for your own aspirations for the city. We'll take about 20 to 30 minutes answering pre-prepared questions of which you've got no idea. But for us, the most important aspect of this election is that you vote and that you encourage everyone to vote. Democracy works best when we all engage, actively take part, learn about our candidates, understand what is important to us for the future of the city. So to remember to share this through all of your channels, to follow us through Know Your Candidate podcast series on thepodhub.com. So Tina, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, children, no children, what have you done in the past? Give us that brief bio on you.
I was born actually in Wanganui and moved up to Tauranga when I was 3, so very young. I first went to school at Gretton Village School. I grew up in Gretton initially and then out to Tauranga and went to Tauranga Girls College. I left probably, I think it was after high school. We headed away, moved to Hamilton for a while, Auckland, got married. I've got a wonderful husband of 32 years. I have 2 adult daughters. They are both married now and just loving life. We moved to the US actually after some time in Auckland. We went to the US and moved over there as a family. My husband's an emergency nurse, so we had the opportunity to work in the US. And so I explored all kinds of different things and had some great experiences working over there. We were there 7 years and then came back to Tauranga in 2010. I'd been back home here for 14 years. So my working life has been very broad and varied. I've found that I've enjoyed doing a lot of very different things actually over the years, from corporate to working in tech, graphic design, love the creative. So I've kind of got a bit of the right brain, left brain thing happening in my work experiences. You worked in real estate in Miami, which was a blast. Oh gosh, what else have I done? Governance roles, lots of volunteer work in the mix, run my own business. So being self-employed, loved volunteering. That's been a big part of the last probably 14 years. There's a lot of community-based work, community development, advocacy, on governance boards with some local non-profits.
Right, very interesting. So just what was your own business? You talked about your own business. What was that?
Graphic design.
Right.
Yeah.
You're still doing
So
that?
I do it in a volunteer capacity now. So I'm not doing that so much as a business, but I use those skills.
Right.
Much like everything else, I use a lot of the skills that I've learned over the years in different roles and apply them into a lot of the social roles that I have.
So one of my questions is going to be about your governance experience. Would you like to expand a bit on that and sort of some of the budgets that you've worked within that?
Yeah. So I guess it started with just some small charities in the city. They have been, so one of them is a church. So I'm involved in a church here in Tauranga. We have a community trust that has been advocating for marginalised and those that often struggle to have their voice heard. So we've done a lot of advocacy for that, whether it's through courts and as people of all ages, but predominantly youth and young adults, but looking at just how do we help them find their voice and get what they need. The other ones, I'm on a youth counselling service board. I've also did a 6-month stint with the Welcome Back Community Centre actually, 2021. And that was because they were struggling at the time. There was some tension going on between the board and the community. And so the community asked if I would step in as interim chair there and help navigate the organisation through quite a turbulent time for the community and the centre, and see if we could keep it on track and get it back on track. So I worked with some of the existing board members, as well as some new ones that came on from the community. And together we took the organisation just in 6 months through reviewing policies, reviewing the deed, establishing some really good procedures, employing a new community centre manager. And then I was able to hand that over to a brand new board within 6 months, and it's just thrived from there. So learning to navigate through tense situations. I have a background also in counselling, and so worked quite a bit with conflict resolution and mediation, and being able to navigate tension and achieve the goal.
That probably answers quite a bit about the ability and experience of managing complex commercial and political environments. So would you like to expand on those skills and abilities that you need to do that?
For the governance, like
Well, for the complex, complex situations,
Yeah.
commercial and political, given that potentially this council may have a large number of new or inexperienced councillors sitting at the
Yeah.
table, it's going to be quite a complex situation to be in.
Yeah, certainly a lot. There's going to be a lot on our plate. I think the skills that I found, apart from the things that we expect to be able to do, which is the financial, the business, understanding the breadth of local government, I think navigating it, a lot of it is people skills as far as the governance team itself and actually working with the team. So acknowledging that every person that is elected has been determined by their community to be the best representative for them, which I then believe they come to the table with skills, with mana from their community, and they have things to offer the team. And so I would start with actually forming the team and understanding who's at the table, what they bring, and leading from more of a strength-based approach as far as the governance. Also, I think we need more support. The local government system that's been set up here in Tauranga, we literally had a phone and a laptop, and that was pretty much it as far as our resourcing for the governance role. So I would like to ensure that we have a budget that allows the elected members, new or not, to be able to get the governance coaching and support that they need to do their job well. So each of them will have different strengths as far as the governance, they'll have different skills. I would hope that everyone has some governance experience. I think that's a pretty foundational requirement for local government, is some capacity. I don't think it has to be enormous, but I think you need to understand the difference between governance and management. But there's often people that don't. And so just ensuring we have a really good budget for ongoing training and also resourcing. There was no staff actually allocated to the governance team. So I'd like to have a small staff team that has the policy advice, someone that can help navigate the busyness of the role and remaining strategic. Because I see that as one of my roles, is to also be able to but the huge amount of day-to-day work that comes at us through those agendas and a meeting, and be able to advocate for our city on a local, regional and national capacity.
Which leads me to my next question is, what do you see the role of mayor and councillors to be, and particularly mayoral, since you're a mayoral candidate?
Yeah, I would see it as being trying to stay strategic, to actually advocate for the things that our city needs at a higher level. We have staff that are employed to look at the detail, to do the management of it, but it's really important that we get the planning right, that we're across the risk. I think that the advocacy piece is going to be really big for us, because we've got some big challenges with our roading, infrastructure, housing. We've got some really big challenges that we're not going to be able to solve on our own. It's not just a Tauranga problem, it's a national problem. So I think being able to have those conversations, whether it's here in our city with our people, because I do believe that Tauranga, amongst our people, we have a lot of wisdom here. There's a lot of solutions amongst the people here. But I also think we're going to have those conversations regionally. We're going to have them with the government. And I think also in the role as mayor, I think we also need to be looking further afield and looking at who has done that internationally, who has gone before us that we can be learning from, I don't think we need to be reinventing the wheel every time with bespoke solutions. I think that we can learn from others that work smarter. So I'd say predominantly it's decision making and it's strategic and looking at keeping an eye over performance and risk.
So, which leads me to my next question. You're leading me nicely into all of my questions, so thank you. So if funding for the huge infrastructure spend is one of the biggest issues facing the city, both on the books and off the books, do you have other solutions other than ratepayer revenue?
Yes, I think one of the things we need to be looking at is public-private partnership. I think we need to look at things like, do we actually have to own it? Do we have to own everything? Is there amenities or even infrastructure that could be funded in different ways? And I know there's a lot of debate at the moment around, congestion charging and tolls. And I think congestion charging is too early for Tauranga. I don't think we have the options for people to choose other ways of travel at this point. Tolls could be a better option. I know that's unpopular as well because but it does shift some of that funding coming from people who are outside Tauranga who travel in here, whether it's for work or business. I think that there's ways that we could potentially create some equity around how we fund that on a local level. But I would like to look at public-private partnerships. I'd also like to look at international options and just see how other countries are tackling this. I'd like to look at some new solutions.
Right. So the next question is going to be that you give it govern at large, and it's around that kind of choosing between what your ratepayer may want, but the collective decision. And you as mayor still have to, whilst you don't have a ward that you represent, you do represent everyone. And some of the decisions that you make will be unpopular.
Yeah.
How do you manage that conflict? How will you manage it potentially as mayor?
So as far as the community?
Yes, the table has made a decision that a good number of people are very unhappy about.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
Yeah. That is one of the things that I would probably initiate quite early on is community engagement. I think we need much more robust community engagement so that by the time we get to those decisions, we have a really good idea of what the community in general are feeling about something or where they want to head with something. But ultimately, there's no way you're going to please all of the people all of the time. It's just not the reality. It is tense. So I think keeping an open door, talking to people, helping people understand why that decision was made. I think often a decision can appear to be difficult in the moment, but over time proves to be a good decision. So helping people come along that journey with us of how we reach that, why I guess the team has felt that this is the best way forward, but information, communication and engagement, I think are going to be key for all of that.
So what you are going to be managing a whole lot of competing issues, reasonable rates, new funding models, infrastructure debt and deficit. How do you choose between investing in growth versus rate relief, where there is a lot of angst at the moment?
Yeah, that's a really good question. No simpler. I think it's definitely going to be walking that fine balance of keeping us moving forward, but keeping that eye on affordability. I think it would be good. There's been a lot of talk, even through this campaign, around the cost of the LTP. So my ideal is to keep our city moving forward. I think it's really important. We've got an opportunity right now to continue to develop the infrastructure we need, develop the amenities we need for our community as well as our CBD, but very, very conscious that we are at the moment just coming out of a recession and affordability is a major issue for people. So it's finding that fine line between the two. We have to manage growth. I mean, people are moving here at a significant numbers. I think we've had 20,000 in the last 3 years. It's been significant growth that we do need to manage. There are some funding tools that, again, not a silver bullet, but things like IFF, the infrastructure fund and financing, it does allow us to move a little bit of that funding on to people who are not here yet. It's got a long lead in. I think the repayment times are, 30 to 50 years on long-term infrastructure. So that does allow us to put some relief for our residents now while moving some of that payment onto those that will move here in the future. So I think it's just looking for smart solutions and ways that we can do that. Facilitating conversations.
So it leads me into another question. I'm interested in your reaction to the view that Tauranga is a critical part of New Zealand Inc. and its economic growth. So we have to think more nationally than locally because what happens here matters.
I agree that what happens here matters, and I agree that Tauranga is significant as far as the just the economic development in our whole region and in the country. I think that we are still a local city, and I think the people who live here are as important, if not more important, in that sense of how we manage our city, because we're paying for it at the end of the day. It's our city. But we also need to keep in mind the fact that we have a critical role to play, especially with the Golden Triangle, with Hamilton and Auckland. And I think we need to be advocating for regional and national collaboration and how we do some of those regional and national infrastructure challenges, the projects we need to get done. I think those are joined up conversations we have to have on a bigger scale. But I think that our city, first and foremost, is also serving those who live here now.
So leads me to another question about amalgamation or unitary authority.
Yeah.
Where do you sit on that?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about that. I think it makes sense. I think amalgamation with Western Bay Plenty District Council, I think it makes sense. It's crazy having 78 territorial authorities that are all doing bespoke things. They've all we've got similar mandates, but everyone's doing it differently. We need efficiencies and economies of scale. And I think amalgamation could do that, but I think it needs to be done very carefully. It's something we would need to do. It's talking. It's going to be engaging, talking to our communities, talking to our partners, and just looking at where that makes sense.
Well, the more for
unitary is a different conversation again. It's a bigger conversation.
You mean including Bay of Plenty Regional Council?
No, so amalgamating Bay of Plenty Regional Council and TCC, I can see a lot of wins there. I think we would have to be very, very careful in how we continue to engage well with communities, because Western Bay has a lot more rural communities, smaller communities, and we wouldn't want just the sheer volume of and need in Tauranga City to detract from what they need in their communities. So engagement would have to be a huge part of that. But combining with Bay of Plenty Regional Council, within that area of Western Bay, I think that's a bigger, broader conversation that needs to be done very carefully. It's not going to be a fast conversation, but it is a conversation that would be good to have.
So the next question, and you've kind of covered it with giving councillors support, etc. But you are going to be sitting at a table with a whole lot of particularly new, diverse, interesting, different people with different ideas. What skills and ability do you bring that will do that? That you specifically as mayor, which is your role, will bring to that?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think a lot of the work that I have done, interestingly enough, the business skills and all of that have been very, very useful and critical for the role. But I think some of the skills that I found most useful in actually in council and that last term were those soft skills of being able to facilitate and help a team through conflict, through tension, being able to find the common ground between people and help bring a team together. So mediation and conflict resolution skills are actually really important. And those have come through a lot of the work that I've done in the social sector. So navigating with volunteer teams or people who are at the table because they have their own reasons for being there. They're not employed by you. You can't tell them what to do. So you have to lead by influence, and you have to lead in a way that is conciliatory and allows people to be able to express what it is that's important to them, but also strategically help people stay focused on what it is that we're there to do. So keeping people above the personal politics and actually focusing on the people and the role that we have been elected to do for them.
That's excellent. Look, Tina, thank you very much for the time you've spent with us. Good luck in your campaign, and I hope that it goes really well for you for the next busy few weeks. So wish you luck. Remember to vote, encourage voting, and remember to share this link through your networks and channels, and to follow us on thepodhub.com. So again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Anne. It's been great chatting with you.
Thank you.
Tune in to the next episode of Know Your Candidate to be informed on who you want to run your city. Got feedback and like to comment your thoughts on the episode? Connect with Know Your Candidate on social. This has been the podhub.com experience. Check out thepodhub.com for other podcasts and how you can even do your own.